What if I told you? The most powerful family in Renaissance Italy didn't rule with swords, didn't rule with armies, and didn't rule with land. They ruled with something far more dangerous: credit. This is the story of how the Medici family became the world's first financial superpower, created modern banking, funded Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Galileo, and quietly controlled the politics of Europe for 300 years. But behind the wealth was a secret so risky, it nearly destroyed them all. Stay until the end, because the final twist will change the way you understand money forever. The story begins in Florence, a city of stone bridges, artists, traders, and no stability. Currencies were constantly changing. Merchants were always at risk. Nobody trusted anyone. Giovanni de' Medici wasn't born rich. He wasn't a king. He wasn't a warrior. He was just a smart merchant with one belief: trust is the rarest currency. He understood something everyone else missed. People didn't need more gold. They needed someone they could depend on. Giovanni created something the world had never seen before: a network of branches, unified bookkeeping, standardized records, double-entry accounting, secure money transfers across countries. To merchants, this was magic. Suddenly, you could leave money in Florence and withdraw it in London. You could trade across borders without carrying heavy, dangerous bags of gold. And almost overnight, the Medici Bank became the heartbeat of European trade. But that was just the beginning, because soon they discovered a financial loophole that changed history. The Catholic Church had a rule: charging interest was a sin. This meant everyone needed loans, but no one could legally lend. It was financial chaos. Then Giovanni did something genius, something sneaky. He didn't charge interest. He charged fees, service fees, exchange fees, handling fees. Different name, same effect. The church couldn't accuse them, and the Medici suddenly became the only bank the church trusted. And when the most powerful institution on earth trusts you, you become unstoppable. When Giovanni died, his son Cosimo took over. Cosimo was different. Giovanni was a banker. Cosimo was a strategist. Where others saw coins, Cosimo saw influence. He used money not just to get richer, but to shape society itself. He funded architects, libraries, painters, scientists, philosophers, entire universities. If Florence was a video game, Cosimo paid for all the DLC. He created the environment where the Renaissance could be born. But his investments weren't charity. They were camouflage. Cosimo's real power came from something far more dangerous. Cosimo realized something revolutionary. If you loan money to politicians, they belong to you. Florentine nobles needed money for campaigns, wars, and vanity projects. Cosimo gave it to them, quietly. In return, they owed him loyalty. He controlled elections not by voting, but by lending. When enemies tried to exile him, the city revolted. Not because they loved him, but because half of Florence literally owed him money. Cosimo wasn't a ruler. He was the man who owned the rulers. But with great power came great danger, because someone was watching someone powerful, someone jealous. The Medici Bank was so efficient, so trustworthy, and so rich that the Pope appointed them the official bank of the Vatican. This was like becoming the banker for the Federal Reserve of the Middle Ages. The Medici controlled church taxes, church payments, church investments, church political funds, and the church ruled half the world. Suddenly, the Medici weren't just bankers, they were kingmakers. But the bigger they grew, the more enemies they made. And one family wanted to destroy them completely. The Pazzi family hated the Medici. They were also bankers. Old money, noble blood, bitter pride. The Medici were new money. Parvenus commoners who bought their way to power, the Pazzi wanted revenge. So they allied with a rival branch of the church, assassins, political enemies, even a future pope. The goal? Kill the Medici brothers and seize power. And they didn't choose a battlefield. They didn't choose a dark alley. They chose the one place no one expects murder: church. Easter Sunday, 1478. The cathedral is packed. Suddenly, screams, swords, blood. Giuliano de' Medici is stabbed 19 times and dies on the church floor. Lorenzo is slashed but escapes, bleeding, furious, alive. The Pazzi think they've won. They are wrong, because the people of Florence hunt them down street by street. The Medici retake control. Their enemies are executed, and the message is clear. Don't challenge the family that controls the money. But the real danger was still coming. At its peak, the Medici Bank had branches across Europe, but Cosimo and Lorenzo made one fatal mistake. They mixed politics and banking too much. They gave risky loans to popes, kings, nobles, friends, artists. Many of them never paid back. And one branch, the London branch, nearly killed the entire empire. The English king defaulted on massive loans. Millions vanished. The Medici lost their biggest income source. For the first time, the unstoppable family felt fear. As debts piled up, branches failed one after another. Bruges, Rome, Venice, Naples, the Medici Bank, once the greatest financial empire in Europe, collapsed quietly. But here's the twist. The Medicis didn't disappear with their bank. They did something nobody expected. They shifted their strategy. They stopped being bankers and became something even more powerful. After the bank collapsed, most families would be ruined. But not the Medici, because they still had political alliances, church influence, cultural power, public support. And over the next decades, they became the rulers of Florence. Then they became the rulers of Tuscany. Then they married into royal families. Then they produced 2 queens of France. Then they produced 4 popes. Think about that. A merchant family bankrupted by their own clients still rose to the top of European power, not because of money, but because of influence. Here is the real lesson of the Medici. Money is not the final goal. Power is. But power comes from trust. The Medici dominated Europe not because they were rich, but because people depended on them. They invented modern banking. They funded the Renaissance. They controlled popes and kings. They shaped the world we live in today. But their biggest lesson is this: wealth fades, influence lasts, and trust is the rarest currency on earth. The Medici didn't just build a bank, they built a civilization.